Well, hello there, and welcome to Ignite Your Passion with me, Bonnie Lang. We have done something incredibly extreme, and I'm super excited that we did it. We have decided to downsize our house from 2,600 square feet to a 400 square foot motorhome, and we are going to just live on the road. So I'm super excited about that. We started the idea in February, and then everything just went fast forward. So I can't wait to share more information with you. Today I have the pleasure of talking with Eric Babin. He's a seasoned traveler and radio personality whose journey has taken him from the shores of Lake Texoma to the vibrant world of internet radio. Eric's story is a testament to the power of following one's passions and embracing the freedom of the open road. I am super excited for him. Born and raised in Sherman, Texas, Eric's love for the beach lifestyle and water sports was ignited during his childhood on the shores of Lake Texoma. After a distinguished 26-year career in the Navy, Eric and his wife faced a pivotal decision: continue with the comforts of home or embark on a new adventure. Choosing the latter, they traded their beach house for life on the road, launching an internet radio station and broadcasting live from music festivals across the country. Join me as I dive into Eric's journey, exploring the joys of travel, the challenges of entrepreneurship, and the thrill of living life to the fullest. Please share this podcast with a friend. I hope you enjoy. It is such a pleasure to get to see you again, Eric. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, Bonnie. Just staying busy and having a great time and living the life, as they say.
Oh, that's awesome. You're going to have to tell us how to do that. Well, so tell us where you're at right now and then tell us where you're from.
Well, right now we are at our home base, which is in the Texas Hill Country near Bandera, Texas. If anyone knows where that is, it's northwest of San Antonio, about 40 miles. But I actually grew up in Sherman, Texas, north of Dallas, and grew up on the shores of Lake Texoma. And that's kind of where I learned to enjoy the beach lifestyle and water sports and that type of stuff. And yeah, so I guess that answers that question.
I love that. My grandpa went fishing a lot in Lake Texoma. I know they'd hire a guide and just spend the weekend fishing, my dad and the rest of our family. So I met you last year at the KOA in Galveston, and you were doing a radio show. So I'm going to ask you to tell us what you do and then what inspired you to start doing this.
Well, what we do, we're a little unique for a radio station. First of all, we're online only. But when I say, well, it's internet. And so you can stream us at radiotroprock.com. We also have free apps in the app stores. If you ask Alexa to play us, I don't want to say it too loud because she'll start it, but she will play us. And then of course we're on every other place internet radio plays, which is, Streama, radio.net, radio.com, all those. And also TuneIn, which is a very popular radio app. What makes us different is we travel. When we first started this, I was in the Navy and I just retired after 26 years in the Navy. We had a beautiful home in Gulf Shores, Alabama. If you've never been there, go there. It's beautiful.
Thank you for your service. Thank you.
Oh,
Absolutely.
thank you. And so we had a choice at that point. We could have kept our beautiful beach house, which had a not so beautiful mortgage. So I would have had to get a real job, or we had an RV and we were just starting into this internet radio stuff as a hobby, or we could sell the house and start traveling in the RV full time. So we started doing that and we had a radio show. We call it, yeah, tough decision, right? So we started a radio show on our radio station called Trop Rockin' the USA because we were traveling. And so we began traveling, I mean, literally from Key West to San Diego to Seattle and to New Jersey, just for doing that. And we would show up, we would make our travel map by the Trop Rock music festivals that were happening. If you look up Trop Rock on the internet and you like, well, where are the music festivals? You'll see that there's one about every month and in all different geographic locations. And so that's how we would plan our map. Okay, well, Seattle has this one in August. Oh, and so we would just travel and hit these festivals. And what we would do is broadcast those shows live on our radio station. So that's what we started doing. And of course, we also were a 24/7 radio station. So during the times we're not doing those live broadcasts of the live music, it's just like any other radio station you'll listen to. we have DJs that play the music. And then when they're not on, we have like a playlist that I program to play. And so 24/7, you'll be able to tune in and hear some great music. Does that answer that question?
Yes. How do
Okay.
you connect with those venues so that you can do the live show?
Well, at first it was a little more difficult because we didn't know many people, but now it's easy because they will contact us and say, "Will you come?" But back then we knew that the schedule, when the things were, so we would just contact them and say, "Hey, we're going to be in your area. Do you mind if we do this?" And who's going to say no to free publicity? Uh,
Right.
so so of course they would invite us in, and then we would get to know them, and then it always worked out because the first one's free, then the next year and then of course that's when we started the business aspect of it and started charging to attend and broadcast these events.
Oh, that's amazing. So beautiful. And so what drew you to the particular genre?
Well, it actually goes back to the Lake Texoma where I grew up because Uh, my father he was a recreational sailor, not a Navy sailor. And so he bought some boats at a Dallas boat show that are very similar to Hobie Cats, but they were called dingoes. I don't think they make them anymore. But
Oh.
he's kind of like an entrepreneurial spirit. So he bought six of them, knowing if he sold five, that would pay for the sixth. So that's what he did. So the semi truck delivers these boat parts to our house, and he built them in the yard and sold five of them right out of our yard and paid for the other one. And then he ended up getting a larger sailboat, a 26-foot Pearson Commander. But that was my childhood, and my early teens was sailing around Lake Texoma. So I began to love the water sports, the sun, the beach, and all that stuff. So when I didn't do so well at Baylor University and decided maybe I should join the military, of course, the Navy was the choice because I want to be around water and the beach. And, the Army goes to the beach, but that's in the middle of Iraq and there's no water near there. So I joined the Navy, and I mean, it's like I don't know, luck struck me because my first tour of duty was on a ship in the Caribbean doing counter drug ops.
Oh,
So
wow.
we were hitting, all the BVIs, the U.S. Virgin Islands, Key West, Aruba, Bonaire, Curacao, Puerto Rico, Cuba. And during this time, during lunch, we would just go out to the fantail, the back of the ship, and take a break, and we'd put our shorts on and lay out in the sun, just and relax. And a friend of mine hands me this cassette, and it was Jimmy Buffett's Feeding Frenzy. And so I'm like, okay. So I put in my Sony Walkman. That's telling you how long ago this was. And I start listening to it. I'm like, this is really cool because this music is talking about the places we're going. It's talking about Key West. It's talking about Cuba and all this stuff. And so I could relate to it, and it was fun. It's enjoyable to listen to and drink to, for lack of
Yeah.
a better. And so that's how I started to get into the Jimmy Buffett lifestyle. And then once again, lucky enough, my third tour of duty, so it was about 6 years later, was San Diego, California. And so, of course, at this time, I'm into the Jimmy Buffett stuff. And me and Gina had gotten married, and she was with me in San Diego. And we joined the San Diego Parrot Club, and we started going to these live music shows of Coco Loco, which is fronted by Jerry Gontang, still big in the trop rock community. But we would go to this, and they were singing original songs, but similar to Jimmy Buffett's, where it was about the beaches and the boats and the bars and that type of
Yeah.
stuff. And at that time, it wasn't called trop rock. They really didn't have a name for it, coastal Americana and that type of stuff, or beach music, Texas beach music and that type of stuff. And so we started to get into that type of music, not just the Buffett, but the independent musicians that did it. And so then years go by, we're moving to Florida, to Texas, and so on and so forth throughout my career, and still joining Parrot clubs when we could. When there wasn't a Parrot club, we'd just kind of get with a group of friends and listen to this type of music. And then when we were in Gulf Shores, a friend of mine who was in a band and lived a few houses down from us, it was our neighbor, and it was someone we met when we first moved to Gulf Shores. And she goes, "Hey, do you want to go to this house concert thing?" And I'm like, "Well, I don't know what a house concert is." She goes, "Well, it's a concert at a house, duh." And so a friend of mine is going to play. So we went, and it was Rick Lamb, who is a trop rock artist and sings those songs about beaches, boats, and bars and that type of stuff. And so he was a former Navy, so we hit it off and became real good friends. And so next thing I know, we're hosting house concert at our house with these artists coming in, these trop rock artists at our house. I think we did 16 house concerts while we were there.
Oh,
So
wow.
But while we're there, there's some small internet stations that play this type of music. And so one of them contacted me and the guy goes, how would you like your house concerts broadcast on the radio? And I'm like, well, heck yeah, that sounds cool. That would be fun. And so I go, yeah, come just, here we're having Tom and Coley on this day. We're having the Detentions this day, Southern Draw Band this day. And so he goes, so I go, come on up, just whichever one you want to do. He goes, no, I thought you would do it. I'm like, how? I don't know how to do that. And so he actually came up and I don't want to say interviewed me, but sat at our house and asked me a few questions to see if I was computer or technology literate enough to figure it out. And so sure enough, I guess I was, because then he goes, okay, for you to do it though, you need to buy this, this, this. So I got all the equipment to be able to do it. And then he gave me the code to broadcast on that station. And so we were doing these house concerts. And that's when me and Gina were like, well, we're going to retire from the Navy. What do you want to do? And then, well, I don't want to get a real job. And so then we decided, let's hit the road and do this radio thing. And so I was thinking about it because, I wasn't getting paid to do that. It was a fun hobby and enjoyable,
Yeah.
but I wasn't getting paid. And doing this is going to cost money. So I'm like, well, why am I going to work my butt off for somebody else and to promote their radio station and everything? And just once again, I'm the lucky guy. Somebody calls me and just timing. They didn't even know I was thinking about this. And they said, hey, I don't know if you'd be interested, but there's this radio station for sale. And I'm like, there is? It just so happens I was thinking about starting my own. And it's very intimidating if you think about how to start your own radio station. And the ironic part about the radio station that was for sale, we had started doing the Trop Rockin' USA radio show for that other radio station for a couple of months. And so when you start anything like that, you always go to Google and say, well, is there already a show that does that or whatever? But there was a song called Trop Rockin' USA. I'm like, okay, well, that kind of works out. So I
Yeah.
called the guy and I said, hey, can I use your song as a theme song for our show? He goes, oh, yeah, whatever. Yeah, whatever. Well, fast forward a few months, the radio station is for sale from the guy that recorded and wrote that song. And, and so it was another one of those lucky things. And so we ended up buying the station from him and then moving our show to our station and began traveling with our station. So that is how we got into this genre from beginning to where we are now.
And to actually, I guess, be sustainable, then you have advertisers and sponsors
Right.
on
And
this.
we knew the first year, because I mean, when we got the station, it had 600 listeners a month, 600 tune-ins, and that's small, but that's a not well, it's small even for an internet station. And so we knew no one's going to know us. So that's when the first year, when I say the first one's free, the first year we spent a lot of money traveling the country, doing all these things at no cost. And we would go in and promote ourselves while we're there.
Yeah.
And so after that, we began to grow exponentially because people would know us. We become friends with them. And so of course they're going to tune in because they're like, oh, that's my friend Eric and Gina. They have the station. I'm gonna tune in and listen to them, and I like their station. And so
Yeah.
that's how we began to grow it. So around the second year, that's when we were starting to reach out for advertisers because we had some significant numbers we could share with them and say, well, we have this many listeners now and this many tune-ins per month. So, your product will start to get out there.
Congratulations. I love this story. And you shared that with me when I met you last year in Galveston. But it's absolutely incredible. And I was trying to get you last year, and then I had things happen, and we both just kept kind of missing each other. I see you're supporting Whataburger.
Yeah. Whataburger Yeti.
There was actually something on Instagram where you can use a Whataburger cup to cover your pipes,
Oh,
like
yeah,
your
yeah, I saw that.
styrofoam.
Yeah.
That was funny. So, as a program director, what does your day-to-day role look like?
Well, it is definitely a full-time job because you would think there wouldn't be much to it, but we get 2 to 3, maybe 4 at least 2 to 3, 4 songs a day from people that want the song to be played on the station. And sometimes we get 10 or 12 in a day. So that's one thing. I go through the emails and look, okay, and I listen to them. A lot of times I don't get through the full song because I know within 15, 20 seconds if that song fits our format and if it's the quality that we require, that the standards that we have set for ourselves. And so that would be one of the first things I do is go through those and listen to them. And Gina listens to them. And then if there's some that are on the fence, maybe we'll send us some trusted listeners and say, hey, what do you think about this?
Yeah.
So that's, and then we have, of course, for any business nowadays, social media promotion. So I'm on Facebook and Instagram, maybe promoting something that we have coming up, or a lot of times for our advertisers, because obviously we want to promote them because they're paying us to promote them.
Right.
So, social media stuff, along with advertising, about once a week, I'll have to produce a couple of commercials. So I'll do the voiceovers for those or hire out the voiceovers, but I still have to mix them and put the music bed under them. And then, of course, there's the standard program director, which is I have to go in and we'll have a list of songs. Maybe somebody will contact us and say, oh, this one song I noticed maybe wasn't loud enough. And so I go back and review it and either you turn it up or just pull it off completely. So it's that program director stuff, pull off commercials that are old, add the new commercials. Maybe it's a special day, like a Veterans Day. So I'll program that day to play a patriotic song every 4 songs or whatever. So it's that programming, takes up an hour or 2 a day also.
You've played one of my songs,
Yes,
Driveway Drinkin'.
that's right.
You're awesome. You received numerous awards for Radio Trop Rock, including the Trop Rock Music Association Awards. How does it feel to be recognized for your hard work?
Well, it feels great. And because we are very proud of the awards that we have won because we've worked our asses off to get them. And like for Trop Rock Music Association, since 2017, we've won every award in the radio category for a total of 21. And people are like, well, congratulations, And I am not saying we're better than other stations. Is why we win is because it's voted on by the people. And we get out and we meet more people, we shake more hands, we make more friends. And so when it's time for those people to vote, that at that time of the year, they look at the list of radio stations and they go, oh, Eric and Gina, yeah, I know them. They were at my house or at my event or whatever. And so of course they're going to pick us. And we don't do it for the awards. We do it to make the friends and to grow our business. But that is a great byproduct. And there's a great quote from, I don't even know who it's from, but he says, because some people will tell you, I don't care about awards. If anyone that says they do not care about an award is somebody that hasn't won an award. And no one, no one does it for the awards, but once again, the recognition to know that you're working your ass off is recognized by people. It's their way of saying thank you for what you do. And so it's very much appreciated.
I love that. So tell us about an experience you'll never forget.
Well, there's a lot, but the one that stands out to me that I always like to share is, have you ever heard of the Soggy Dollar Bar in Yost Van Dyke?
No.
It is probably the number, you can Google it. I think it's the number 1 beach bar in the world. And if you've ever been there, you know why. It's just kick ass. It's on White Bay there in Yost Van Dyke. Anyway, so we were traveling on a Trop Rock event type cruise, and they stopped there, and it was Jerry Diaz and Donnie Brewer, and they were performing there. And so, because that cruise, we were part of that cruise as Radio Trop Rock, I was like, I want to broadcast that, assuming we can get good cell signal, because all we need is a cell phone signal to broadcast live on the radio. It's pretty simple.
Oh, wow.
And so we get there, I have good cell signal, but of course, so I'm ready, I'm set up, everything's going good. And I was like, well, I always like to get permission, even though I've already got it set up. It's more like ask for forgiveness, but we haven't started yet. So I went to the manager. Hey, I need to talk to the manager. And so I go to the manager and I go, hey, just so you know, is it okay if we broadcast live on Radio Trop Rock this show that they're about to do here at Soggy Dollar? He looked at me and goes, well, of course. And I'm not gonna be able to do the accent because I'm terrible, but I'll try my best. And it was at the bar, and the manager, and he looks at the head bartender. He goes, look at this man right here. And he's pointing at me. This man here, he drink free all day. And I was like,
Oh.
holy crap, I'm drinking free at the Soggy Dollar Bar. And the strange thing is, I probably drank less that day because I didn't want to take advantage of it. So I think I had like 2 or 3 painkillers, and that's it. But still, to broadcast live from the Soggy Dollar Bar with the just cartoonish bluish water out, the catamarans and the white sand and our friends, unbelievable. That's what it's all about.
Where's been your favorite place to go?
We love the Caribbean. So yes, anywhere in the Caribbean, although we just did a cruise and land tour to Greece for another, because we go on these events or destination events also. It's a great job to have. And so we went to Greece and I went to Jerusalem before all the stuff happened, like right before the stuff happened. So it was just amazing to see, even though I love the beach and drinking on the beach and all that, it's still to see the culture and the history, walking the steps of the Stations of the Cross. Catholics know that what that is. I'm assuming other religions do also, but to walk the last steps of where Jesus was in Jerusalem is just very moving. Even for non-religious people are doing it, going, "Oh my God, this is amazing." So
Oh,
it's and that's what is great about our job is it provides us the opportunity to do stuff like that.
so did you do live broadcast when you were there in
Uh,
Jerusalem and
we
then in Greece?
I'm trying to think. We did something live, not in Jerusalem. It was a little difficult there. We did some in Greece, and we also recorded on the cruise ship. We recorded a couple of the shows, and then we played them later.
We made it to Greece last year, and I loved it. It was so beautiful. The water is amazing. Absolutely. What do you find most rewarding about your path?
That is probably the easiest question to answer. It's the people we meet along the way, because before we started doing this, I mean, we didn't. I mean, it sounds sad. We didn't have any friends because we moved so frequently being in the military. And we got to Gulf Shores and we started to make a lot of friends. But a lot of that had to do with what we were starting to do within the trop rock community when people would come over to our house for the concerts and the word was getting out. And we would have people come in from out of state to our house to these shows. And so we began gaining a bunch of friends. And then we started traveling, and just the people we meet along the way, it's amazing. There was, and then it kind of goes back to this, where there was a time we were coming back from a show in Branson, Missouri, driving back here to San Antonio, and we had a Suburban, and the transmission went out on the interstate, and so we were stuck, and so we got towed. We had it towed to the dealership, and we got a hotel. And I told some friends about it, and next thing you know, they started an online thing to raise money for us. And I'm like, "No, don't
Oh,
do that. We're good. We're fine. It sucks, but we can handle it."
yeah.
But and asked, I go, "You're gonna have to take that down because we don't." And they're like, "Well, you're gonna have to be mad at me because we're not taking it down. It's gonna." And so
Oh,
it ended up paying for over half of the transmission, but more so, it was like 150 different people donated. And just to
oh,
think that that many people, took their hard earned money out of their wallet and donated it to us to help us. I'm telling you, it's a great, and that's a lot within the trop rock genre, and we had other people, "Hey, I'm only 2 hours away. I'll come get you. You can stay at my house till your car is fixed." And we had two or three people say that. And so it's just amazing.
that gives me goosebumps. That is amazing. And when I met you last year, you have a following. I mean, there's a big group of people that follow you to the different resorts, and I think that's
But
absolutely
but
incredible.
I wouldn't say they're following us. I would say they're just following a good time, because
Oh,
wherever we go, we have a great time, and it's with these friends. And sometimes it's small groups of 20 or 30, sometimes it's larger groups of 400 or 500. But regardless, we're there and we're hanging out. And that's another great thing about the trop rock genre. When we're traveling, a lot of times the artists are also coming with us, the performers. They'll have a show, and then they'll hang out with us, have a beer, and then sit around a campfire and play. And you become friends with all these artists, not just the radio station owners like us, but
yeah.
just the person that is just the regular trop rock fan. They become friends with these artists too. And that's kind of unique to the trop rock genre.
So how long has the station been active?
The station started in Panama City, Florida, I think in 2009. And then we bought it in December of 2016, and then began traveling with it in March of 17.
Oh wow. So you've grown it exponentially in just a short amount of years.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. What do you wish you would have known when starting this? Do you wish you would have started it sooner?
Well, yeah, that would have been great. Because even while on active duty, as long as I wasn't deployed, I could have done a radio station as a hobby. But I think, if you think about, starting your own radio station or starting your own business in anything, it's very intimidating. And so if something I would do over again, rather than purchase Radio Trop Rock, I would have started my own station from scratch, because I would have used a different name and all that. But I didn't know how to figure out how to get a logo, how to just, And the strange thing is, shortly after we bought it, we ended up redoing everything anyway, except for the website address, the station name, and the logo. Everything else, 99% of everything in the station, we completely redid. So basically, it was like starting a new station over. And the same thing happened January of last year. Our server, we were starting to outgrow our server. So it would drop a lot on the other end. You'd be listening, it would drop, and because we were over putting too much on that server, they couldn't handle it. So I started shopping for another server, and basically we got another server. And once again, it was exactly like starting over because everything had to be started over from scratch. The software, the programming of the station. And it took me like 3 months to have the new server ready to go before I could let go of the old server. So I just wish I would have just started my own. Rather, it would have been cheaper to start the station from scratch rather than buying a station and having to redo the whole thing.
Incredible. How much does it normally, like, what does it generally cost to start a station?
Because you could probably start a radio station now for about 2,000 to 2,500, and really the cost to operate it, you're only looking at a couple hundred a month. It's not bad until you start getting listeners. And now there are there are a lot of internet stations that aren't licensed, but legally they have to be licensed. There's the only exception to that is if they're a talk radio. If they are playing music, even if, let's say, Jimmy Buffett is my friend and I call him and he goes, "Oh, you can just play my stuff. That's cool." I still have to be licensed, even if I'm playing his music that he gave me permission. He has to sign in writing a letter to his BMI or ASCAP or CSAC or whatever saying I have permission. Then I can do it. And no one does that. And your licensing is based on your listenership and your total hours that people listen. And so at the beginning, it was $60 a month when we first got the station, $60 a month. I'm like, oh, why aren't all stations licensed? Well, once our listenership grew, now our licensing is runs around averages $3,000 a month for licensing.
Oh,
And
holy.
so now I know why some radio stations aren't licensed because they, I mean, they just can't afford it. And I get it, but still that's not right to the artist because the artist, it's their work. So to me, if we weren't licensed, I feel like we would be stealing from the artist, even if they said, "Oh no, don't worry about it. You can do it for free." Still, it's their hard work.
Yeah.
So we definitely, we take care of our licensing and everything as just a show of respect for the artists that let us play their music.
Well, thank you. Well, you mentioned if you do a talk show, if you spend so many hours being a talk show, then you can get away from doing the licensing, or?
If it's strictly a talk show, even
Oh,
I think even podcasts, if they play music, they have to be licensed. So because I mean there is some music that is, I forget the word, I can't think of it right off but it's not licensed. You can play it for free,
oh
but
yeah, like royalty free.
that's what I'm looking for. But I mean
Oh,
that is so rare. I mean, it's if somebody writes a song and records a song, they're probably signed up with BMI, ASCAP, or CSAC. And
yeah.
so, and the thing that it disappoints me the most is that we're paying this much in licensing, and I know that the majority of the money is probably going to some fat cats in an ivory tower in Nashville or Los Angeles somewhere. And by the time it trickles down to Bonnie Lang, it's two
Point
dollars.
oh oh oh
Yeah,
1 cent.
yeah, and so we may have paid $20 for you that month, and you get 2 cents by the time it gets back down around to you, and that's a disappointing thing. But I mean,
Yeah.
that's the music industry right now, so there's nothing we can do about it.
You're absolutely right, and just think of different ways, to make money, merchandise and doing the shows. What do you find most challenging for you? And that almost sounds like that's one of the challenges there.
Uh, that is yeah, that is challenging, especially our first licensing agent was crooked, and we were paying. This is fun. This is not a funny story. It's a sad
Oh,
story, but it's interesting. We were paying them every month, and then all of a sudden we weren't licensed one month. I'm like, what the hell happened? We're how are we not licensed? And then I Googled the company. They had been taking radio stations' money, but not paying the organizations. And
oh,
so once they got caught after 8 or 9 months, they of course got shut down. So then we had to find another licensing agent, and that's one of the challenges is trying to find one that works with you well. But probably the biggest challenge is the technology, because we'll be at an event and And you can't depend, like if you go to a hotel or a bar or wherever, they all have public Wi-Fi. We can't use that because as soon as people start getting on there and using it, it's going to drag down and it's going to kick us off. And they also, if especially the larger hotels, they will give us a line and sometimes wired and a lot of times Wi-Fi, but it's strictly for us. But I still can't depend on that because it's their internet. So we bring our own internet everywhere, but then again, we got to have a good cell signal. So the challenging part is sometimes the internet isn't that great, and it's really stressful when you're broadcasting a show live and you're looking at how fast your internet is. And there are times, rare now, but that will drop. And it used to be that would freak me out. I'd start sweating and I'd get frustrated and mad. And so now I've learned you just take it and you work slowly to work around it. You reboot or you do this or whatever. And because your listeners understand that, every now and then, every 10 shows or something, you may drop for a minute and it's okay. They're not mad. They understand.
Yeah.
And so I've definitely learned to, and my wife laughs at me because she used to watch me before and now she'll see me. She goes, and normally I won't have to push buttons during a show. And she go, "Oh, what's wrong?" I'm like, "Oh, the internet went down." And she goes, "Well, you're handling this well." And yeah, I handle it a lot better now.
Tell us about your shows. So she has a show, right, that she does during the day, and
She used to have a show, Four at Four with Gina, won a TRMA award 2 times or 3 times. I don't know. But
oh,
she stopped doing that show and she's going to do another show. But we're not ready to announce that yet. It may be a few months
okay,
before we get it off the air. But the probably most popular show that we do is our Trop Rock in the USA show. And when we aren't at an event, broadcasting on weekends, which is the Trop Rock in the USA show, every Wednesday at noon Central, we broadcast live from wherever we are in the world. And we will talk about where we are, and then we will, play songs a lot of times about where we are, or maybe a sponsor that we're promoting that day or whatever. And so that show is our most popular. And that is, by the way, brought to you by Sunset Travel Deals, sunsettraveldeals.com for all your travel needs. And then we have Greg Dumas, who used to be with Radio Margaritaville many years ago. He would broadcast live from the Margaritaville Cafe in New Orleans when it was there. But we got him, and he has a happy hour show brought to you by Buddy's Backyard. And that's at 5 p.m. on Fridays and noon Central on Sundays. And it's a very fast-paced show. He's a really good DJ and really hyper energetic. And we call him Trop Rock's oldest teenager because he's probably got 50 years of broadcast experience under his belt. So I'm not saying he's old. I'm just saying he's got 50 years of broadcast experience under his belt. We also have Dennis King with Tropical Play with DK, brought to you by Surfside Beach, Texas. And I'm certain you're familiar with that place.
oh,
And his show, he brought that from another station and brought it to us. And it's a great show. He plays, a lot of the Beach Boys type of stuff and that type of music. And we have Stony Gable out of Austin, Texas. His show is brought to you by Harbor Hill in Hanover, Pennsylvania. And like we're getting these sponsors in. But his show is like quirky Texas music, sometimes funny songs. And he's a DJ. He came from an Austin radio station. And so he's got some old archived stuff where he had artists in his studio live and they would play some songs or joke around. And he plays a lot of those cuts plus the other songs that he adds. And then our most recent addition is Renee Adams, who used to be with Radio Margaritaville up until about 3 months ago. And her show is Don't Worry, Beach Happy. She'll change how you feel about Mondays. And her show is brought to you, by the way, by GTS Charters and Outfitters in Key West, Florida. So her show is more mainstream, so to speak. It's hard to explain, but she'll play. If you've never tuned into Trop Rock before, you listen to her show, you'll recognize more songs than if you tune in to the other shows. They all have great music. It's just the other shows may have songs that you may not have heard of before, where hers is more mainstream.
I love that. I have a song called Beach Happy. How does that work then? So you have several different people. Then are they part of your payroll, or
Yeah,
is it their
yeah.
sponsors?
Well, they're kind of like subcontractors where we pay them on an annual basis because I'm not going to waste my time bringing a show in for a few months. I make sure we contract them for 12 months, and then we get a sponsor that covers their cost and then pays it. We pay them with that money, and then we get some of that money also for the airtime that it takes. And so that's how the shows are financed. And then is what they do. They record their own shows and then they will send them to me. And then I program them onto the station. Sometimes I'll review them and check make sure the levels are correct and everything. but normally they're pretty good. So I just program them onto the station. It's a pretty simple process.
Share with us because, me as a podcast host, I've been doing my podcast for more than a year and, the sponsors. How do you approach the sponsors when you decide who you're going to reach out to and how do you go about that?
Well, I'm a terrible salesman, terrible. So I hate asking people for money, but we have to ask them for money. So normally I would say 99% of the sponsors we have, it may be 100% of all we have right now, approached us. They heard about us or well, they heard about us and they're like, "Hey, what does it cost to advertise?" And I'll let them
Yeah.
know. It's very affordable, by the way. I try to do it in such a way that I want to make them happy enough where they're going to renew the next year, not just because we get the money again for another year, but because that means they were happy and they like the product.
Yeah.
And the thing that makes me feel bad is well, the last 2 years, each year we've had to raise our rates, and I feel bad, but because our licensing is going up, because our listenership is going up, and of course the price on everything in the world is going up, and so it
Absolutely.
it it hurts for me to have to ask people for more money, but it's just a fact of life. You have to do it. So, but the sponsors, I mean, a lot of them are our friends, and so it's once again, it's difficult to ask for money, but they come to us, and I we do have a friends and family discount, so they do get a better rate than if I shouldn't say this because then some stranger is going to contact me. I want a friends and family discount, and but uh, we try and work with them in such a way that they like what we do, and we like to reach out to them and how's it going or update their commercials. We had one sponsor that is a real big fan of a certain political figure. And so we had a voiceover do it in that political figure's voice. And I thought it was funny and they thought it was funny. And so we try and do it unique enough where they can appreciate what we're doing for them.
Yeah. Well, I love that. And I just love y'all's positive attitude because I sat in and watched your show and the way that you and Gina just go back and forth and as you play the music and you just interact so well and connect with the people. And it's just, I love that. I love that about y'all.
But we are fans first, and I think that's another thing that helps us be successful is we are fans. We're fans of the trop rock musicians and the genre, and so we're doing this with the zealous attitude and the eagerness that anyone would that loves the genre. If they had the opportunity to do this, I'm certain they'd be acting the same way because you're having so
Yeah.
much fun doing it, and you're with the people. It's great.
I love it. So, what advice would you give to someone that's interested in pursuing a career in radio, or maybe they have a different dream, but just haven't started?
Well, whatever it is, if it's a passion, you're going to figure it out. So don't be intimidated by, I don't know if I could start a radio station or a t-shirt business or whatever. I don't know. If it's a passion of yours, then you're going to figure out a way to do it, and you don't have to do it all on the first day. And also, good advice is be ready the first year to work really hard and lose money because it's going to happen. But that's what it takes. Don't consider it losing money. Consider it investing money. So,
Yeah.
but if you have a passion, just go out and do it. I mean, there's several songs out in the trop rock community and other genres that talk about, Brent Burns with "If Not Now, When," Aaron Scher's with "Never Another Now," and just songs like that. It's that attitude where that's why we started traveling and doing what we did at age. How old was I when I retired? 26, 25, 51. I retired from the Navy at age 51, and so we were like, well, let's do this now because we're young enough to travel and do it. I can always get a job when I'm 60 if it doesn't work out, or 65. I can
Yeah.
always get a job, but at age 65, we're probably not gonna be able to do this. So let's do this now. And that's would be my advice to anyone thinking about doing something that they're scared of. Just do it. If it doesn't work out, you'll get back on your feet. It's not a big deal. But you
Yeah.
know what? If you don't do it and you're 65, you're gonna regret it. You're like, dang, if I
Yeah.
just done that, who knows?
Absolutely. Oh, that's amazing. If someone wanted your station to consider them, their music, what would they need to do? What would you recommend they do?
I love this question because it's something that when I was on the other station, we kind of disagreements about. And so here's my first thing. If you're a professional musician, or even if you're a part-time musician doing music more than just a hobby, in other words, you want it on the radio, get it professionally produced. Don't do it in your basement unless you have been doing it for years or you went to the Berkeley School of Music and know how to produce music. Because I can tell, remember I told you I listen to songs 15, 20 seconds. I can tell if a song is poorly produced within 15 to 20 seconds. And if it's poorly produced, it's probably 99% of the time going to be a poor song. And we're not going to play poor songs because we want people, when they tune into us, we want them to hear music that is quality music. Even if it's a song or a genre they don't like, at least it's done with quality. And so they won't tune out. You know, you don't want to have them tune in and go, oh, why are they playing this? This is terrible. How is this on the radio? So professionally produced. Number two, this is very important. When you send a song to a radio station, have it properly tagged with all the metadata, because it's got to have the artist title in the right spot, the song title in the right spot, the album title in the right spot, all those in the right spot, and also the ISRC, because that's how the licensing people know who to pay. And if that's not on there, well, we shouldn't be playing it because you're not going to get paid for it. And the album art, have everything on there done correctly. And we get them, oh, it's 40% of the time that aren't done correctly. And I will just kick it back and I'll say, we can't play this. It's not tagged with the correct metadata. Never reply back with, what is that? Because, and you'd be surprised how many people do that. So then that tells me, okay, you didn't have this professionally produced, because if you did, you'd know what metadata is. And you just tell your producer, hey, they can't play this because you didn't put the metadata on it. They'll put it on and send it back. Now, I could put all that in there if you send it to me, and I've had people do that where they send it. Oh, here's the title and the ISRC. I don't have time to do that. So when you send it to radio stations, make sure that it has all that ready to go. So if it meets our format and the quality and the upbeatness that we want on our station, I can kick it right onto the station in 2 minutes, and it's going to show correctly when it plays the right album artwork and the right song title and all that stuff. And then at the end of the month, when I submit my report, you'll get paid for us playing that song.
Excellent. What are your goals and aspirations for Radio Trop Rock?
Well, that's funny because this is probably the worst business goal to ever have. I want us to go out of business. And by that, I mean, we're not in it to make a fortune. We have to charge because we have to cover airtime and all that stuff. We're in it our mission is to promote the genre and the artist. So, like, for example, we play artists and you get 2 cents or $2 for us playing it. But you know what? If that song is in regular rotation at Radio Margaritaville, for example, which is a similar station to us, that is probably the biggest one, you're going to get thousands of dollars. So my aspiration would be that we promote this genre enough where a station like on Sirius XM picks it up, starts playing trop rock, and then no one's listening to Radio Trop Rock anymore, and we go out of business. We have made our mission successful, because now Bonnie Lang's getting played on a Sirius XM station and getting $10, $20, $30,000 or whatever for the year. And now I can just go to your show and I don't have to work.
That's beautiful. I love it. Y'all are amazing. Tell us again where listeners can find you. Tell us about social media and then where they can hear you and tune into you.
You can find us on Facebook, Radio Trop Rock. The easiest way to listen is, I'd say, Alexa, play Radio Trop Rock, or stream us at radiotroprock.com, or our apps are absolutely free. You go to the App Store, type in Radio Trop Rock, and I am so confident you're going to love our apps and our station. I offer a money-back guarantee on those free apps. I promise you'll like them. If you don't like them, contact me. I'll give you your $0 back. But, and then, of course, tune in and all those other places that you can grab it. So great way to listen in your car. Get the app, Bluetooth to your car, turn on the app, bam, Radio Trop Rock playing in your car.
Beautiful. Is there anything else that you'd like to share that I didn't cover?
Oh, we have a request button now, our new app, and on the station, on the website, radiotroprock.com. So if you want to request a song, you just go on there to the request button, and then you can search for a song and request it, and it will play, depending on how many we have lined up. I have it set to play a request every 4th song. So it could be 15 minutes, it could be an hour, but your song will play. It's queued up. All I got to say is get out there, have a great time. If you have a passion for something, go do it. Don't wait, because if you wait, you're going to wait too long and you're not going to do it. You can always go back and do that crappy job you have right now later. You can go back to that.
Well, thank you so much. It was such a pleasure having you as a guest here, and I hope I'll see you in May. I'll be in Galveston as well. I don't know what your schedule is going to be like.
We're in Galveston until I think May 6th, or we're in Port Aransas that week. I don't know. For folks want to see us on the road, they can see us on the road. Our schedule, we travel year round, coast to coast. Our next trip is to the Caribbean, strangely enough, but you can see our schedule at radiotropout.com. And, we're all over Texas and Florida, especially, but also hitting Seattle uh, in August, and then Alabama in October and November. You get the idea.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to be a guest here. I truly
Well,
appreciate
thank you so much. It's always great talking to folks, and especially folks like you, talented singer songwriters.
it. Thank you. That was so incredible and inspiring, and it's inspired us to do the same. So we are on the road, and right now I'm actually recording this podcast at a picnic table a couple of slots over from where our RV is. And it's just, I have to say, I feel like I'm in vacation mode. But I also want to share with you, we had an amazing experience. We didn't think about how much money we would earn selling all of the stuff in our house. So we downsized and earned more than $30,000. So we're going to be doing a workshop on that. So stay tuned for more information. Sending you peace, love, happiness, and hugs. And please share this with a friend. I hope you have a wonderful day, sweet friends.